The Midnight Trespasser. In my youth, the concept of bedtime was a nightly battle I was determined to win. The world, after all, only truly came alive after dusk, with its chorus of crickets and the mysterious shapes cast by the moon. My parents' pleas were but a distant drone against the allure of one more chapter, one more game, one more moment of quiet rebellion. This nightly struggle was a frequent topic of conversation, and so it was that during a weekend visit to my grandparents' sprawling country house, my grandfather decided it was time for an intervention. His house was a character in itself, a grand old building with floors that groaned underfoot and long, shadowed hallways. After supper, as the fire crackled in the great stone hearth, my grandfather gathered me and my cousins close. He had a way of telling stories that made the very air seem to thicken with anticipation. With a knowing glint in his eye, he looked directly at me and began. "You know," he said, his voice a low rumble, "your Uncle Hussein was once a young chap much like you. He believed that sleep was a waste of perfectly good time for adventure. Every single night, long after your grandmother and I had retired, his lamp would still be burning." My grandfather leaned back, letting the silence hang in the air. One night, as was his habit, Hussein finally decided to trudge up to his room. The house was still and silent, but as he reached the top of the stairs, he noticed a peculiar smell drifting from his doorway. It was a foul odor, like damp earth and rotten eggs, a scent that had no place within these walls. He pushed his door open, and that's when he saw it. Someone, or something, was in his bed. A large lump under the duvet rose and fell with a slow, heavy breath. Hussein crept closer, his own breath caught in his throat. He reached out a trembling hand and pulled back the corner of the quilt. My grandfather paused, and we all leaned in closer. The creature that lay there was a vision from a nightmare. It was bald, its skin a sickly pale gray. In the very center of its face was a single, enormous eye, bloodshot and unblinking. Its ears were vast and pointed, covered in coarse, wiry hair, and where its arms should have been, there were 3. From each of its 3 hands sprouted 7 long, crooked fingers, tipped with nails that were black with filth. As it breathed, it revealed 2 long, sharp teeth like yellow daggers in its mouth. The ghastly smell was coming from it, a wave of decay that made Hussein gag. Suddenly, the creature's single eye swiveled and fixed upon him. A voice, deep and resonant as thunder, boomed in the small room, though its lips never moved. "This bed is warm." Hussein didn't wait to hear another word. He let out a scream so high and shrill it could have shattered glass. "The monster is in my room. It's going to take me." He turned and fled, stumbling down the hallway and bursting into our bedroom, a sobbing, terrified mess. Your grandmother, bless her heart, calmed him down and told him he could stay with us for the night. The next morning, I sat him down. "That monster," I told him sternly, "is drawn to children who disobey their parents. It seeks out the beds of those who stay up late. If you do not listen, it will return, and it will not leave." For a few nights,
my grandfather said, shaking his head slowly. Hussein was the first in bed. But children forget. He soon decided it must have been a bad dream, a trick of the light. He went back to his old ways, staying up until all hours. He did not believe the monster was real. So, my grandfather's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I decided to teach him a lesson he would never forget. I crept into his room before he came up and concealed myself under his bed. The floor was cold and dusty, but I waited. Soon I heard his footsteps. He entered the room, humming a tune without a care in the world, and climbed into bed. I waited until he was settled. Then I began to whisper, letting my voice come from deep in my chest. Whoa, whoa, I am the monster. I can smell a boy who doesn't listen. I heard the rustling above me stop. I continued, if you don't go to sleep when you are told, I will come to your room. I will sleep in your bed with you. Whoa, whoa! The reaction was instantaneous. There was a frantic scrambling, and your uncle shot out of that bed as if he'd been launched from a catapult. He's back! He's back! He shrieked, running to your grandmother even faster than before. This time, when your grandmother saw him, she held him close and said, You see? Listen to your father and me. Go to your bed when you are told, and the bad monster will have no reason to visit. From that day forward, your Uncle Hussein was in bed before anyone else in the house. He never stayed up late again.
My grandfather finished his story and looked around at our wide, captivated eyes. The fire had died down to glowing embers, and the shadows in the room seemed deeper now, more menacing. That night, I didn't need to be told twice. I went to bed the moment my parents asked, pulling the covers up to my chin, certain that I did not want any midnight trespasser making itself at home in my bed. And from then on, I rarely ever did.